Welcome to the Enjoy Life podcast. This podcast is about enjoying our lives by making the best of our current situation and being able to choose our mindset, our goals, and our actions so that we can guide our lives to go in the directions that we want it to go. Well, in this podcast, I'm going to share with you information that I've learned just through personal experience, which, my mistakes and failures, as well as some of the successes too, obviously. And some of the things I learned from a little bit of formal education and with working with people to make positive changes in their lives. These are things that I'm trying to do in my life because it wouldn't be right for me to share things that for you to do that I'm not willing to do myself. Now, by no means am I perfect or have everything just right. I'm human too. So some of the things I'm going to share with you are things that I'm trying to do or I'm still working on improving, but it's still valuable information because if it can benefit me, then it might be able to benefit you too. I'm glad you're here and listening in. Just make sure that while you're listening in, you're storing things away that you can take action on to be able to move forward and take your life in the direction that you want it to go. Once again, I'm glad you're here, and let's get started. Well, hello there. I'm Nick Mazey. This is the Enjoy Life podcast. We're talking about choosing your mindset, goals, and actions so that you can have more of the life that you want. If that sounds like something that's interesting to you, or something that you want, and something that you're willing to do, because it does take some effort, then you might be in the right place. And before we dive into today's episode, right in line with taking action, I made a resource on my website that's all about that. Maybe it talks about a little bit of the things that make it a little bit more difficult to take actions, some of the distractions that might happen, as well as what you can do about it to be able to keep taking the steps moving forward. It's all about making action a little bit easier. So just go to nickmazey.com/MAET for Make Action Easier Technique. That's nickmazey.com/MAET. It'll take you to this webpage. And we've got a little bit of a checklist that you can use to really simplify the next step to move you closer to the life that you want and move you closer to the goals that you want to make progress on. So go check that out. Of course, it's free. And hopefully it can help you. On to today's episode. So today I want to talk about the most important time of your life. Wow. When I say the most important time of your life, what do you think about? When you hear that, what's the most important time? Is it certain milestones that you've passed? And what's kind of interesting is I had planned to talk about this this morning, and I had the notes typed up for this episode. And it just so happens that yesterday, my wife and I are talking, and we start thinking about the different milestones that we've passed and the different important times in our relationship over the last, 7 years now. And it was just really interesting that, that stuff, was so important. Those milestones and, starting to date and asking each other out and saying I love you, all that great stuff, getting married, having kids, and some, big milestones. And yet I had all these notes typed up to record this morning talking about the most important time of your life. Well, and those milestones that my wife and I talked about, and the milestones in your life, they are very, very important. They're huge. That's what ends up, having all of our memories and the big things that we think about and the big important things in our lives. At the same time, those milestones are not the important time I'm talking about today. Because all those big things, they can end up distracting us sometimes from this important time, from another very important time in our lives. What time am I talking about? I'm talking about now. See, now is so important. Interestingly, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but now is what creates those milestones. You see, now is when we can take action. Now is when we get to make those decisions that leads to the milestones. Now is when we make the progress that would improves our lives so that we can, do the big milestones that we want and they can be what we want them to be. Now is where you can enjoy life. And so what about the past? Well, the past is where those milestones happen. See, the past, we can't change the past. We can learn from it, which is a good thing. Definitely do learn from the past. And in fact, and that leads to the fact that we can benefit from the past too. And the past can help us to enjoy our present now if we choose to, if we choose to use the past, then we can learn and benefit, and that helps us now, and then even adds to enjoying life now. So the past can be a good thing, just maybe not the most important for what we're talking about here. Now, what about the future? The future, it can be an important thing too. Maybe not the most important, because you can't do anything in the future. I mean, you can once it becomes the present. Once the future becomes now, then of course you can take action. And of course you can do things, you can make changes and all that stuff. But right now, in the future, you can't do anything in the future. That is, as long as it's still the future, it's still the future. And as I'm sure you've heard, the future, it's not promised. None of us are promised tomorrow. Unfortunately, things do happen as terrible, and I don't really want to get on a negative note here too much. But we are not promised the future. We have today, we have now, and this is what we got. And so that's what it all comes back to, the present. If you want a better future, if you want to have milestones, one day you want to have milestones in your past that you haven't achieved yet, well, then it all comes back to the present. This is what we have. We have now. We have the present. You can choose to allow your past to benefit you right now, and you can choose to allow it to help your present, and that's great. So the past can be a good thing. The future can be something that you look forward to, having those goals that you're working. Goals are all about the future. All it comes back to is what you do right now, because now is what counts. That you have this valuable, amazing thing in the present. You have the ability to make choices and take action. You have the ability to shape your entire life right now. And all you have is right now. It's because it's in the present that these things happen. So next time you think that you should do something, but you don't feel like doing it, remember that now is the only time that you can take the actions. Will your future be different if you take those actions and do what you don't feel like doing right now? Maybe you'll feel different in the future if you actually take the actions and the steps right now. Now, on the other hand, what if you don't do something different now, in today, take full advantage of the present that you have? Well, then your life might just keep going the exact same direction it's going. Now, if it's going exactly where you want it to go and everything's perfect, then of course, just keep doing that. But if it's not, then you got to do something in the present for the future to be different. You know that. So don't discredit this little bit of time that we have right now in this fleeting moment of the present, because this is where you get to shape everything. This is where you get to make the profound difference in your life. And even if it's just taking the smallest little step that you could take right now, you can begin to make progress and develop a little bit of momentum and just make that small little shift. And then you continue on a slightly different path of a slightly more in line with what you want and go in the direction that you want to go. Then over time, that's what ends up being the profound difference, where you get to enjoy life and at least be more of what you want it to be. There's often, there's a little bit of a side note. There's oftentimes in my life that I wish that I was better, or had made more of the changes that I wanted to make and taken action and all that. But then when I look back to where I was just say 10 years ago, it is profound. And I wouldn't even recognize the person that I am today if I saw them on the street from who I was 10 years ago. So it's not, but over time, it doesn't seem like it's been a huge shift until I look further back, because it is small adjustments and taking action and making the shifts and changes in the present that over time lead to the just profound changes and progress and improvement. So in the moment, it doesn't have to be that you have to take the leaps and the bounds, but if you take advantage of this time right now by taking the small steps, that's what ends up getting you where you want to go. What if you did your best right now, and didn't hold anything back, went all in on what you want, on your goals, and took action? What if you did your absolute best? How different could your life be in a little bit of time if you do your absolute best? If you took the steps that in your mind you should take right now. What if you learned something new? In an area that you want to improve. If you want to make progress at your job, or if you want to achieve a goal, or take on a project, in your home life, or in your personal life, anything. What if you learned something that would help you to be a little bit better. Maybe for you, it's just setting a goal, which is a huge thing. Just thinking about the things that you want in your life, and setting a goal toward achieving them. That can be the shift that you need to get a little bit more focus, to be able to make it, take a few more steps to improve in the areas that you want. That's something you can do right now. That next very, very small step toward the life that you want, and the person that you want to be and the things you want to experience. What's that very small step that you could take right now? Do that. What if you just got up and started moving? Just a little bit of body movement is a profound thing in making action easier. If you want to go to the gym, just stand up. If you want to exercise, just stand up. Starting to move is huge. It's that a body in motion stays in motion, body at rest stays at rest. If I want to do something, and I don't need to start thinking about all the things I need to do and all the steps involved and all that. If I want to take action now, I just need to stand up and start moving. If I just start walking I stand up and start walking, it is so much easier to do anything, than if I'm sitting down. It's a weird little thing. If you have the ability to stand up, you have the ability to make taking action towards your goals easier. What if you took advantage of your time right now? It could be amazing. So it's so easy to discredit the future, or even discredit the present. Because we might not have a ton of time. You might only have a small break in whatever you're doing, and this is only a little bit of time before your next scheduled activity, before you got to go to work, before you have to do this or that or the meeting or whatever it is. You might not have a ton of time in this moment, but the fact is if you took full advantage of the time that you have right now to make the small shifts, to take the small steps, then over time, because time's going to pass anyways, that's when you make the huge progress and improvement. Have you ever said or said to yourself, or even thought that you wished you would have done something, but you didn't because you didn't feel like doing it? How much further along might you be right now if you'd done it? So if you've ever done that, I certainly have, believe me. But if you've ever done that, then you're in the same boat as I am right now, where we have to take advantage of this time. Because now is the most important time of our lives. Now, the present, it is precious. If you take full advantage of it, if you do what you can do right now, then your life can be more what you want it to be. Because life is just moments. We don't get them back. So value them. Make them count. As I'm kind of going off the show notes, I'm starting to think, if you're experiencing stress in your life, taking just a few moments for a little deep breathing, a little mindfulness, a little meditation, it has a profound impact on stress. And this is one thing that I'm just kind of sharing a little bit of what I've been trying to do. As life gets crazy, family life, work life, all the demands and all that stuff. And this is something that I've noticed is that I don't have a ton of extra time, I guess, but I do have a little bit of time here and there. And in the present moment, if I take advantage of that little bit of time that I have and do a little bit of self-care, a little bit of mindfulness or deep breathing, it has such a huge impact on my overall level of stress. Now, it doesn't instantly change everything, but when I develop that nice little habit and doing that, or for my body, I noticed that my body wasn't really where I wanted it to be. And so I'm trying to take and add a little bit of stretching each day, and quick trips to the gym during my lunch break. That over the last few weeks I feel so much better, and it's adding up. And by taking advantage of the present, in that little bit of time that I have between this and that, or in the mornings, doing a little bit of a deep breathing, a little bit of a mindfulness exercise, over the last few weeks, it is making a huge difference in my life. And that's all that it is. It's taking advantage of the present, taking advantage of now, and those brief moments, those moments that we have in life, because they do add up. Take advantage of them, value them, make them count, because you won't get them back. And tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, when you do this, when you take advantage of your time, you are going to reap amazing benefits and rewards. And your life's going to be more what you want it to be because you took action when you can, and the only time that you can is in the present. You can do it. You can. If you want a little bit more stuff about making action a little bit easier and taking advantage of this time, you can go to that resource page. It's nickmazey.com/MAET. That's nickmazey.com/MAET. It's a little bit of information on the make action easier technique. Just make it simple and do it. All right. Thank you for listening to the Enjoy Life podcast. I hope you enjoy this. More importantly, I hope you do something. Clearly, it's about taking the action, taking the steps. When you do that, you're the one that gets the benefit. But I hope you enjoy it. Do something. And can't wait to talk to you in the next episode. Take care.